different. Blessed are the pure in heart, 25:13. Free from impure admixture, without blemish or spotless. It's talking about the physical thing. Ethically, down here. Ethically, or a combination with Levitical cleanse. It means cleansed from every sin. It means your desires over here. It talks about desire. Clean from guilt. That's the katharos is the Greek word there. Blessed are the pure. Katharos is a cleansing. What's the English word?
Catharsis.
Yeah, catharsis. You know,
That's usually used for the emotional realm.
right, and that's part of the heart.
And the physical.
Yeah, for bowel prep, for surgery, so it's cathartic. You get cathartic drugs.
And what does that do?
Cleanse your eye.
It cleanses you. And you know, there's that process, and sometimes by confession, getting stuff off of our chest, talking it out, laying it all out before God, there becomes a cleansing. So, you know, I have this up here because we could see. I mean, I have this kind of Bible study, so that when you're in the Bible, you can say, "What's that word?" You know, blessed are the pure in heart. Okay, heart. There's heart right there. It's 2588 for heart. The heart, the cardia, which is heart. I think we understand that. That's the Greek word for it. Blessed are the pure in heart. Okay, so what's God talking to us about? What does He say? What was He telling them? Yes.
Well, the verse he gave me was 2 Chronicles 7:14, and that was, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land.
Okay, what's that mean? What does that mean? So what does that mean?
What did that mean to me? It meant, well, for me personally, it was that I needed to spend more time and be about spending time with Him, hearing Him, and not worrying about everything else. And trust that he's got it taken care of. That was for me personally.
Okay, it says if my people, so it's not talking about.
It's not just me, but us.
It's not about the heathen.
Right.
If my people, which are called by my name, humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. What I always found interesting in that passage is that the reason the land isn't healed is not because there's corrupt, evil people out there. It's because the people of God haven't humbled themselves and prayed and sought God's face and turned from their wicked ways. It's not that there's wicked people around. The land's not being healed. It's not that there's, it's that God's people haven't been connected to God, which I think is a very humbling thing. So there's humility in prayer. And when I was thinking about this prayer thing, you were talking about if my people called by my name would humble themselves and pray. Now, How often are we supposed to pray?
Continually.
How can you do that?
I know.
How does a person do that? How often are we to pray?
2 times, day and night.
Day and night. Yeah, pray without ceasing. So, how do we do this? What's the idea behind that?
Talking to him all day long about everything. Having a conversation with him throughout our day.
Because prayer, I mean, part of it's us talking, but that's not the,
Listening.
yeah, and so how do we make decisions? It's this, I mean, I'm hearing this, what does intimacy look like? I mean, God is saying, I want to be intimate with you on the little everyday decisions of life. That's what would life look like if we would listen before every decision, and maybe some of us would do a whole lot for a while. I mean, that's sort of what happened to that early church. Jesus says, I want you to stay in Jerusalem until you're endued with power from on high. And so it says they constantly gathered together to pray. And they didn't do anything until God moved. Literally. It sounds kind of simple, but it sounds kind of complicated in some ways. But there's this aspect of a people that really got a hold of God, and God's got a hold of them. Whoa, okay. Prayer. Okay, what else is God talking? Yes.
I was kind of camped out in James 4, which is a very practical passage about guarding our hearts. Gets into the problem of what goes on in churches, and it gets into the remedy. And starts out with, whence come quarrels and fighting among you? Doesn't it come from your own lusts? You want what you don't have, and so you war and fight to get it. So the bottom line is, the problem is selfishness, which may manifest as greed, as bitterness, as sexual immorality, all kinds of ways. And it talks kind of in the middle there, you adulterous people. And then, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And then it gets into the submit to God, resist the devil, draw near. And I was thinking of that in other terms. Submit, that's the hearing. Because in the Bible, hear and obey are the same word. So that's the hearing and obeying. Resist the devil is war. And draw near is restore. That's where we're restored, is in the Lord's presence. In His presence is fullness of joy. At His right hand are pleasures forevermore. And that James passage kind of goes down through it. Wash your hands, purify your hearts, grieve, mourn, wail, humble yourselves. Don't judge your neighbor. So the whole thing is about guarding your own heart. You could go there. You could be the problem. Don't look at other people as the problem, because these same things are probably alive in you. Look to your own heart. Guard your own heart. The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. And we're to guard our hearts not because they're corrupt, but because they're a life force whose God-given glory needs unveiled to a sin-sick world. And I like what John Eldridge says. He says, so, what do you do on a daily basis to care for your heart? And he says, good grief, we don't even do it once in a while. We might as well leave our life savings on the seat of the car with the windows rolled down. We're that careless about our hearts. We live completely backward. All else is above our hearts.
pray, submit. Resist.
And draw near.
Draw near.
So I was seeing kind of the submit is hear and obey, resist war, and draw near is restore.
We've been talking about the heart. A lot of it flows out of the heart, pure heart, a heart that's been a restored heart.
And Eldridge, in his book, like his thesis statement is, there's a glory in your life that your enemy fears. And he's hell-bent on destroying the glory before you act on it.
That's right.
I mean, and the devil tries to get us to believe that we're defective, we have bad hearts, and if we don't buy in, he'll put people around to tell us that. Like David's older brother says, why have you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the desert? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You know, and no. And we hear church people saying, you know, well, my heart is deceitful above all else and desperately. No, 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 that's the unredeemed heart. The promise of the new covenant is a new heart, a good heart. The God too pure to live it, to look on evil would not inhabit other than a new heart, a good heart. Because the minute we make that agreement with the enemy, it becomes a foothold which can quickly turn into a stronghold. And we got to learn to guard our hearts.
Someone else, good.
I think mine kind of goes along with guarding your heart. I didn't get a word, really, but I got a picture. I was listening. Well, yeah, all right, I'll go
Do you have the picture?
He
with
does,
you?
I
he does,
do.
he does.
Awesome.
So when I was here at the church praying, I was sitting over here at the tables, and I wasn't really getting anything. I was just kind of sitting there and being quiet, and had my iPod and was listening to Misty Edwards, and the song came on, the "Come Into Your Garden" song.
Yeah,
That I'm talking
garden.
about. Yeah, so I kind of got this picture of a garden, and but it wasn't a pretty garden. It was kind of a destroyed and not well taken care of, one that had a broken fence, and this figure was in front of this broken fence, and I didn't really understand. I still kind of don't, but this is kind of what I got. And the next week, I flipped him around, and
Matthew.
he's standing in front of this farmland and garden type area, and in the distance is a city. While I was sitting here, I kind of got this is kind of what was going through my head. I was listening to Misty Edwards' song played, and waited, and I had this thought of a garden and a fence around it, broken down, and the garden was trampled and destroyed. As I started drawing this, this is what came out. Fence broken on the border of a farm, in the distance, a city. It seemed to me, this dark figure standing ready to enter a city in the distance. It seems to me he was there to destroy, so I looked in the concordance in the back of my Bible, and Matthew 24:15 popped out. And that said,